Fola's suspicions were not unfounded. Omowumi was indeed Mama Solo reincarnated, and she had a plan. She would cause a rift between Tunji and Fola, and then she would reveal herself to Tunji and exact her revenge. The reincarnation of Mama Solo the groundnut seller, Osas, now known as Mama Solo, was a very beautiful woman. Despite being married, men always seemed to long for her attention. She often laughed at their antics to get her attention, telling them, Baba Solo is my soulmate. She still remembered how she met Tunji, a shy young man who seemed to lose his ability to speak whenever he came to buy groundnuts from her grandmother kiosk, especially when she was the one attending to customers. She always found this endearing. Mama Solo grew up with her grandmother in Ijebu-Ode. After she lost her parents at a tender age, she moved from Benin to Ijebu-Ode, where she and her grandmother fried garri and groundnuts. Mama Solo quickly picked up this skill. Her grandmother often allowed her to fry them alone, as the customers always praised Osas, especially for her groundnuts. After coming to purchase groundnuts and garri for years without saying anything, Tunji finally asked Osas out. She already had an answer prepared since the first time she saw him. Yes, I will be your girlfriend, she replied, with a smile so bright you would think she had won the lottery. Fast forward to 15 years later, Osas, now Mama Solo, was married to Tunji and they had a son, Solomon, popularly known in the street as Solo. In the streets of Lagos Bega, where the couple relocated to immediately after they got married, Mama Solo started her business. Coincidentally, Mama Solo's grandmother, Abebi, died shortly after the two were married. Mama Solo conceived Solo almost immediately after marriage, but unfortunately, she failed to conceive more children, making Solo an only child. The first couple of years in marriage, Mama Solo and Baba Solo went from one doctor to the other, even going as far as diabolical means, but there was no solution. Accepting their fate, Solo was treasured by them. In the street of Bega, where Mama Solo sold her groundnuts, she was sought after by people who lived far and wild. She always ran out of groundnuts to sell before afternoon each day, making her fry several times a day. She wasn't the only one selling groundnuts in Bega, but it seemed customers preferred Mama Solo's own. She was loved by all except her fellow competitors, who often gossiped about how they were sure Mama Solo was using diabolical means to achieve her customers. Mama Solo often heard such talks, but never took it too seriously. As long as her beloved Tunji and son Solo were happy and taken care of, she didn't care what anyone said. One day, Mama Solo closed shop early to return home as she was having severe headache since the night before. She arrived home to find Tunji's car parked outside the gate. She laughed, wondering why he was too lazy to park the car properly in the compound. She closed the gates and quietly entered the house, attempting to play a trick on him. But she was the one to be shocked as she entered the house and realized even Fola, the girl who stayed with them, was not in the living room watching TV as usual. As she approached her bedroom, she heard Tunji and Fola talking. "I cannot pretend to be your niece," Fola shouted. "You came to marry me from my village as your wife, yet I have continued to pretend to serve your barren wife. Fola, calm down. I told you Osas will no longer be a problem. I will find a way to get rid of her," Tunji persuaded her. Unable to breathe, Mama Solo decided she had heard enough and barged into the room. "Tunji, really?" she asked breathless, making it clear she had heard everything. Tunji retorted. "Now you know the truth. There's no need to pretend. Osas, meet your junior wife, Fola." Mama Solo collapsed and was declared dead at the hospital. She had died due to severe shock. 14-year-old Solomon's world was in chaos. His beloved mother had just died. But instead of his father mourning, he was parading his new wife, who had been living with them in the guise of a niece. Despite Mama Solo's death, Tunji catered and cared for Solomon. But all that changed when Fola, his new wife, got pregnant. Tunji, I am not comfortable staying in the same house with another woman's child. Fola repeated over and over. If he doesn't leave, I will. After all, I'm sure the baby in my womb are male twins. You are aware we have twins in my lineage. She kept on at this until Tunji accepted. Solomon was denied food for several days in a row. He was stopped from registering for JAMB examination. He became a servant in his own home. Each day, he cried himself to sleep next to his mother's clothes. One Saturday morning, as Solo was sweeping the compound while Tunji and Fola were having breakfast, a stranger came into the apartment. He introduced himself as Mama Solo's parents' lawyer. It turned out he had been searching for her for years, as her parents had left some inheritance for her. Solomon was called to the hearing, and it was discussed that since Mama Solo was dead, her only child would inherit everything at the age of 18. Tunji asked why he couldn't take care of things as her husband. The lawyer explained that would have been possible only if Osas didn't have a child. After the lawyer left, an evil seed began to form in Tunji's heart. Solomon had to die. He started plotting against his own son, the only reminder of his life with Mama Solo. But each time he planned something, it always seemed to fail. It was as if an unseen hand was disrupting his plans. Months went by and Solo's condition worsened. He was denied food and proper care, and his father's hatred towards him grew. After her death, Mama Solo's spirit did not rest. She reincarnated into the body of an orphan girl who was killed during a robbery in a kiosk. She was sleeping for the night named Omawumi. Omawumi was a beautiful, charming girl with a striking resemblance to Mama Solo. She had a mysterious aura around her, and people often felt drawn to her. As she also began frying groundnuts in the streets, people often compared the taste of her groundnuts to that of late Mama Solo. One day, Omawumi met Tunji, and she knew exactly who he was. She had been waiting for him. She began to flirt with him, using all the charms she had inherited from her life as Mama Solo. Tunji was helpless against her charms, and soon he was held over heels in love with her. Omawumi convinced Tunji to bring her into his home, to live with him and Fola. Tunji was hesitant at first, but Omawumi's charms were too strong. He brought her home and Fola was immediately suspicious. She knew that something was off about Omawumi, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. As Omawumi settled into the household, she began to cause a rift between Tunji and Fola. She would often flirt with Tunji right in front of Fola, and Tunji would become increasingly distant from his wife. Fola tried to confront Omawumi, but she would just smile and deny any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, Omawumi was taking good care of Solo, Mama Solo's son. She would cook for him and help him with his homework. Solo was grateful for her presence, and he began to see her as a mother figure. But Fola's suspicions were not unfounded. Omawumi was indeed Mama Solo reincarnated, and she had a plan. She would cause a rift between Tunji and Fola, and then she would reveal herself to Tunji and exact her revenge. Fola became increasingly isolated, and her health began to deteriorate. She was pregnant, and the stress of the situation was taking a toll on her. One day, she went into labor. Fola died during childbirth alongside her child. It was a stillborn. Tunji was devastated by Fola's death, and he began to run mad. He would see Mama Solo's ghost and would hear her voice in his head. One day, he decided if he killed Solo, Mama Solo would stop appearing to him. He poisoned Solo's food, but Omawumi, knowing this, poured the food away, changing the contents. Omawumi waited until the perfect moment to reveal her true identity. She waited until Tunji was at his most vulnerable, until he was consumed by grief and madness, and then she struck. It was a dark and stormy night. and the winds were howling through the house. Tunji was pacing back and forth and his mind racing with thoughts of Fola and the baby. And then he saw her. Omowumi was standing in front of him, her eyes blazing with a fierce intensity. Tunji said, her voice low and husky, "Do you know who I am?" Tunji looked at her, confused. "You are Omowumi," he said. "The orphan girl I brought into my home." Omowumi laughed. A low, throaty sound. "I am more than that," she said. "I am the reincarnation of Osas, Mama Solo the groundnut seller, and I have come to exact my revenge." Tunji's eyes widened in shock as Omowumi began to transform before his eyes. Her body began to glow with a golden light, and her hair grew long and wild like a lion's mane. Her eyes blazed with a fierce intensity, and her voice became like thunder. "I am the spirit of Mama Solo," she said, "and I have come to claim what is mine." Tunji tried to run, but his feet were rooted to the spot. He tried to speak, but his voice was frozen in his throat. And then, in a flash of light, Omowumi disappeared. Tunji was left standing alone, his mind reeling with the revelation. That night, Tunji disappeared, never to be seen again. Solo was left alone, but Omowumi was there to take care of him. She raised him as her own, and he grew up to be a strong and handsome man. If you have watched to this part, thanks for watching. Please smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and leave nice positive comments. Check out my other videos as I'm sure you will definitely find something you like. As always, see you in my next video. Bye besties.